Okay, so we can also have a geometric series. There's a sum formula for that. So it's going to, I'm just going to give you the formula. It's S sub n equals A sub 1, so you have to know the first term, times 1 minus r to the nth over 1 minus r. And just by the way, r cannot equal 1. That's the formula. I always find this one to be a little bit different. I'm not going to prove it in this video, but it is in the textbook if you want to see it. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so now what do we have here? Use the formula to find the partial sum. So they want us to find S sub 11. Okay, so that means n is 11. And we know the first term, that's 8. So A sub 1 is 8. Sometimes it's helpful to have like a little chart here, you know, of all the information you know. Now, how do you find r? So it's geometric. Then they tell us it's geometric. You take two consecutive terms and you put the second one over the first one. Okay, so r is equal to -1/2. Now you could try that and see if it works for the three numbers that you have, but it does. Okay, so we know everything. All right, so now let's get that formula back. I already scrolled up, so let's see if I can remember it. Okay. Yeah, okay, so now we just put everything in. The nice thing about this one is you don't have to know the last term. So we're going to go S sub 11, which is going to be 8 times 1 minus, now what was our r? It was -1/2. You could make that a decimal if you wanted, -0.5, but anyway, that might be convenient for the calculator, over 1 minus -1/2. Okay, so got some work here to do. All right, now that's going to be 8 times, now I'm going to write 1. When I do this to the 11th power, that is still going to be negative, right? -1/2 to the 11th power is still going to be negative. So I'm going to make that plus, and then for my calculator, I think I will put in 0.5. I already took care of the sign to the 11th power. So it's going to be to the 11th power, like that. Like that's how I would put it in my calculator. The denominator, I could also do that with a fraction. It's going to be 1 plus 1/2, which is 1.5. Let's just go with the decimals here. Okay, so I can put that in the calculator. I'm not interested in doing that by hand. So turning on my calculator, so I'm going parentheses. I'll have to put in parentheses here. So it's going to be parentheses 8 times, and you could use a parenthesis. Yeah, in fact, I'll use a parenthesis. 1, you have to, 1 plus 0.5 to the 11th power. So it's all about the parentheses, parenthesis, parenthesis. So you got to close that off twice. See the two parentheses there? Okay. And then we're going to divide that by 1.5. And let's see what we get. I'm getting about 5.335. Okay. So yeah, that's not the number I was expecting to get, but sometimes these things happen. So the sum of the 11 terms is approximately 5.33. Actually, if I round it off, it's going to be 6. So if I go to 3 decimal places, there we go. Okay, so a little bit with the fractions and the decimals and things like that. Okay, let's look at B here. Now we're going to put in, they have the summation notation. So think of it as the way we were doing summation notations. 3 times 2 to the first, because my lower limit's 1. So that'll be the first term, plus, and then it's going to be 3 times 2 squared for the next term, plus, I'll do one more, 3 times 2 cubed, plus, and then it's ending at 3 times 2 to the 6th. But I don't actually have to know the last term, right? What do I need to know? Well, 2 to the first is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. That's the first term. I have to know the first term. And then this is going to be 4 times 3, which is 12. So to remember, order of operations, you have to do the exponent first and then multiply. Okay. That's enough for me to get r right there. I mean, I can keep going if you want, but I don't really want to. So how do I find r? You know what? Did I say d before? I hope I didn't. No, I said r. Just checking. Okay, so the r is going to be these two terms. It's going to be the ratio of them, 12 over 6. So r is 2. Okay, now I need that formula again. So what was it? S sub, we're going to be, let me put the formula. S sub n equals a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the nth. Oops, I put in the 6. I'm going to put in the 6 in a minute. N over 1 minus r. Yeah. Now, if you're putting this in the calculator, you would need parentheses around that. Okay? So just in case you're like, oh, let me just use my calculator to do everything. So S sub 6, because n is 6, that's how many terms we're adding up from 1 to 6. And we know the first term, a sub 1 is 6. And we know r, so I think we've got everything. A sub 1 is going to be 6 times 1 minus r, which is 2, to the 6th power, over, and then let's just go 1 minus 2. I forgot the 1. 1 minus 2. Now, this should be a positive answer, right? I'm only adding up positive terms that are getting bigger and bigger. So let's see what happens. Let's just put this in our calculator. So the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to go like parenthesis 6, parenthesis 1 minus 2 to the 6th. That's all fine. Parenthesis, parenthesis. Got to have 2 of them. Divided by parenthesis 1 minus 2. Now I know what 1 minus 2 is, but I just want to show you how to do that on a calculator. Okay, so parenthesis 6, parenthesis 1 minus 2 to the 6th, parenthesis, parenthesis. You have to have both of them or it's not going to do it right. Divided by parenthesis 1 minus 2, parenthesis. And I get 378. So the sum of the 6 terms is 378. You can check that. You can find all 6 terms and add them up. But there's the formula so you don't have to.